Today's guest is Ryan Aalsma. He's Executive Vice President at Skanska. All right, Ryan, thank you for coming on the show.
You bet. Good afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. You're based in San Antonio, huh?
I am San Antonio,
Yeah, I just
Texas.
came back from there. We had the International Roofing Show there.
Oh, really? So you spent some time downtown on the Riverwalk, huh?
It was really nice. I actually haven't been to San Antonio. I've been to the show's been to Dallas a few times in a row, but I've never been to San Antonio. It was very nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity downtown. Hopefully, you were able to see some of the construction activity and just the hustle and bustle. A lot of focus downtown.
Yeah, for sure. And you've been at Skanska a very long time. In terms of your whole career, right?
A couple decades. So
Yeah,
it's an interesting story how I got started.
yeah, yeah. Tell me.
So I kind of fell into construction one summer as I was a junior in high school through a construction trades program that I was a part of. And just before the summer, the president of one of the construction companies there in that local town came and was looking for summertime labor help. So I had an instructor encourage me to go and listen to the pitch that the company was making. I filled out an application, got a position for the summer. It was really good pay at the time, beat anything else that I could make. And that summer job kind of transitioned as I went to college to work over Christmas holidays, summer holidays. Ended up getting my degree in business. Really had no desire to go into commercial construction or construction at all. And that was right after the Twin Towers came down. There weren't a lot of companies hiring business people. So my idea of being this world traveling business person, kind of never got off to a start. But what did happen is my construction network provided me a place to land. And, through the past relationships and experiences I had in commercial construction, I was able to secure a position. And that's kind of led to, I guess, 23 years later now, working in
Wow.
construction with the same company.
Yeah,
So
very
it's
cool.
definitely taken me on a path that I would have never imagined as a junior in high school or even coming out of college. But in hindsight, I wouldn't change a thing about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's nice to hear you say that. I mean, as any company leaders, love to see their employees or their people stick around so long. What is it about the company? What is it about the opportunity that sort of grab hold of you and you stay the course?
So I get that asked that question a lot. The main thing around the company is really the people. And Skanska is not a small company; it's a big company. But the people that we work with every day, there's a true bond. There's a lot of trust that's built there, and it's a network that I've really come to enjoy and rely on. And it's one of those things to where it feels like a family. We say that a lot to where it's easy to get lost in a number, but when you start to have some of these interpersonal relationships with the people that are on your teams, you understand what their motivators are, both personally, professionally. It allows you to connect in a different way to where I feel like we have true partnerships within our employee base to where we're all working for a common goal and we want the team to perform better, which helps the company perform better.
Yeah, I mean, not every organization has that. Yeah, I'm assuming there's some intentional things that are being done to cultivate this, preserve this. And what are the keys?
It's it's magic in so many ways. I think it starts with leadership, and leadership has to have an appreciation. They have to set the expectation and the standard. We're lucky to have a lot of people that have got a lot of tenure with a company. That's something that you don't really see much anymore. But within our local leadership team in San Antonio, most of us have been here at least a decade, most probably two, some are pushing 3 decades. So
Wow.
with that, you get a lot of predictability. You really understand how to work with the team. But then that migrates down from the leadership team and the project leadership. And, a lot of our people kind of started the same way that I did, whether it was through an internship or through an entry level position. They grew their career with the company, and the company is really invested in employee development and really putting employees in positions that they can kind of stretch their skill set, but doing that in a way to where they got a support mechanism as well, to where if they get into a situation that they need help, it's a phone call away.
Yeah. So an emphasis on that internship because obviously, if you have a good experience out of the gate, you're more likely to keep going.
Totally, totally. We have seen time and time again that our internship program is one of the best conduits that we have of bringing people in early. And our internships aren't limited to college graduates. We'll
Mhm.
go into high schools and really look at people that are maybe coming out of a construction academy or a technology based course that have interest in construction. Come and do a summer internship. If it's something you like, we'll support that employee as they maybe get some additional training, some technical skills, and really find ways to bring them on early and help them see the benefit of commercial construction. So the recruiting program and the internship program has been a very key component of what we do and finding that talent early.
Yeah. I mean, walk me through the experience of the internship program.
So our internship program, we really try to assign interns with a mentor at a job site. And when they get assigned, we try to identify if they have an interest in pursuing more of an office manager, project manager role, or if they have interest in going into the field careers like a superintendent type role. There is a heavy shortage right now in superintendents, so that has been a focus. So we're trying to focus some of our recruiting around schools that have some of those students that have more interest in that field role. But oftentimes, what we find is the student may come in wanting to be on a project manager path. They see all the fun stuff that the superintendents are doing outside. So we make that very flexible in the internship program and throughout a career, that if you want to switch careers or go from one side to the other, that insight, that understanding, and having that hands-on experience is invaluable both ways. So we really try to get them, versed in the field aspects as well as the office aspects through their internship. As that internship transitions into employment, we try to kind of stabilize that a little bit and get them around some goals and development specific to their interests. And then if those interests change, we're flexible with that too and adjust those goals and developments with that interest.
Yeah. It sounds like you're taking the time. I think you mentioned earlier to understand their motivation and why they want to do things and what they like.
If you can tap into that, that's an energy source that if you can link that up with the right development opportunities, then it's powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And then, what are the mechanisms people move through the organization? What sort of things are done to identify or sort of grow the people on the inside?
So we have a very robust learning center to where we have a lot of curriculum that's available, online, to where it's kind of a self-paced curriculum. We do a number of different leadership development courses to where there'll be kind of a personality assessment or survey. Then you'll maybe work with teams across, as an example, USA Building is the vertical group that I'm a part of in Skanska USA Inc., to where we'll get together with teams from across the country that are from different geographies, maybe working on different project types, and kind of do these cross sector teams that really help us get outside of our comfort zone a little bit. And there's a lot of networking in construction, and even as we work within Skanska, we really try to expand that network and get people into different situations, working with new teams and really working to develop their skill sets to where they can take, you know, all the lessons that Skanska has learned across the country and kind of put them in one place and pull from that database.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, I was going to ask you about a knowledge share. I guess so. That's a regional focus. Is there international sharing as well? Skanska is such a big.
There is, yeah, and I've got to participate in that, and it's crazy how as you move across globally, outside the country, there's so many different things that are driven culturally within like risk control, risk analysis, different components, but you break it all down. It's construction at the end of the day, to where you're dealing with concrete, steel, building envelopes and contracts in so many cases, to where a lot of those cultural drivers just impact the way the work is delivered. But you get down to it, the work is very similar no matter where you go globally. So
Got it.
it's that was very very eye-opening to me when I got to partake in our global, they call it STEP. It's the executive program that they do. That's a global program, and you work with people from all over the world. And it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I mean, you said construction is construction, but you also get that diversity of thought, right? Like you just have so many people, with so many different experiences.
Yeah, and they're all so unique. And as you start to explore some of those conversations, and you find that your challenges are in many situations the same, to where again, that's another way to tap into that database and knowledge share around, hey, maybe somebody in the Nordic region had the same issue or situation and they solved it this way, to where you can take components of their solution and plug it in the US.
Yeah, for sure. How much of your job is like sort of internal sort of management versus external relationship building?
So I'm the executive VP general manager right now, and I'd probably say that my role is to put numbers on. It's probably 50-50, to where I do have a very specific focus on my home region, both internal and externally facing. But I also have a lens towards the corporate side of the business on the USA side, to where I'm a contributor at the USA Building Inc. level, which is uh, the vertical build group within Skanska. And then in my home region in San Antonio, I work closely with our local leadership team to identify strategic accounts, strategic growth plans, and then making sure that we're taking care of the needs that we have and that our clients have on our projects.
Yeah, for sure. Um, that's great. You do get involved in that relationship building. Like, what are the keys to that?
A lot of it's built on trust, and the trust is built on communication. And in the absence of communication, there's a lot of things that tend to get questioned. So I'm a big proponent of communicating. And if there is an issue, if there's a challenge delivering what a client expects or what an employee expects, just be as candid as you can be and really talk in basic terms around facts, and then try to identify what the actions are to try to move things forward. But if you don't have trust, it's hard to move things forward in a way that it's going to be meaningful and it's going to have results on the back end that are that you're comfortable with. And that trust, in my experience, is really built on communication and being able to talk about problems, and really being able to put problems on the table and have those met in a way that's productive.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, do you do on the personal development side? What do you do?
So I recently completed my master's, and that was a goal of mine because I kind of came through the school of hard knocks in a way, starting as a laborer with tools on, working out in the hot sun. And as I got more involved in workforce recruiting and college recruiting, I talked to more and more people that want to understand more about construction. And as you start talking to folks that are coming out of college, they don't have a lot of professors that have really worked in commercial construction. So my long term goal is to semi-retire into teaching at the college level, specific to the commercial construction. That's one of those things that I think there's a need for. So I went ahead and I just completed my master's, and that's kind of part of my longer term plan. And that was one of my most recent things that I did for personal growth and professional growth, to where I'm hopefully setting myself up to be in a place that I can kind of give back. I mean, I had a ton of good mentors. I learned a lot from my professors, but I learned so much more in the actual commercial construction sector that I feel like I have something I can give back. And I feel like, I'm in a place that I want to give back.
Yeah, for sure. In your master's, it looks like there's a slant towards legal studies in and around the commercial side.
So I don't want to be an attorney, but I did finish my master's in law, right, with a real estate and construction focus. A lot of that is because that ties in many ways to what I do now. I get to review a lot of contracts and kind of working through terms and conditions and insurance requirements. And it's one of those things that it's necessary. Contracts in many ways are vehicles that help us deliver to the expectations of the clients, but there's also some challenges with contracts, and it's one of those things that this kind of fit with what I'm doing now professionally and what I want to do longer term on
Sure.
a personal basis of teaching, being an
Right.
instructor.
Yeah, you said with legal documents, there's challenges. What sort of challenges, with this further education help you mitigate?
So terms and conditions. There's always components around indemnity and just liquidated damages, and just what can go wrong, right? And then how do you kind of build in mitigations, whether it's having creative language in a contract or building a mitigation plan at a project level to where you kind of safeguard against some of those potential issues. So it's really about broadening your perspective, understanding that there's multiple ways to maybe arrive at a solution, and then what are the best, I guess, paths of discussion to get at the best solution.
Yeah, I guess if you knew the all the different yeah, terms and ways that these things can be structured, that just gives you more capacity to make both sides relatively happy.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It gives me a good understanding of where an attorney may be coming from when they're venting a concern that they had. And a lot of time that goes back to a specific experience, to where if you can kind of parallel that with a specific resolution that you've maybe worked through that was successful, oftentimes you can arrive at mutually agreeable language, which is the key to where what can both parties live with, and then how can you kind of move the ball forward. What you don't want to see happen is just someone take a position that they just don't want to talk about terms at all, and move in a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about sharing the risk, right? It's got to be somehow balanced, and if you can use that your knowledge of it to communicate that to sort of round the edges on it, I guess things go a lot better.
Yeah, and having conversations again, communicating around what your perception of the risk is as it relates to some language in the contract. It often, kind of it'll shed a different light that maybe an attorney or an owner wasn't really thinking about. Maybe an architect intended the language to be kind of interpreted one way, but the contractor's thinking about it in a completely different way. And if you can talk about that, then it's usually it ends in a favorable place. But in the absence of that communication, and where there is no consideration for modifying or changing language, is when it's usually not a good indication.
Yeah, for sure. I know Skanska's big on sustainability. It's known for that. Can you highlight any examples or things that I should know about that?
So with regard to sustainability, we really focus a lot of our effort around having sustainable building solutions. Like, we have our own development group that will really drive a lot of the sustainable elements within our buildings. So we really try to minimize our impacts, negative impacts related to sustainability, and try to be practical. And a lot of the stuff that we do has to align with what an owner's expectation is. And then that, coupled with the design, is where we'll finally kind of land on a path on what the owner wants, how the design integrates that, and then many times we're focused on delivering those expectations.
What do you see? What are you curious about in terms of future
Yeah.
trends?
So in Texas, it's a pretty Texas has got a lot of growth in construction right now, to where there's a lot of companies coming to Texas. There's a lot of people coming to Texas. That's great for builders, and that's great for the workforce, to where we're all trying to find the best talent. And really, that talent development, workforce development, is probably going to be one of the pressing components going forward. Is we got to find those people that are ready and they're willing to come into the construction sector, both at the specifically at the trades level, to where they're stepping into good paying jobs that have good benefits. And there's a lot of predictability for Texas, going forward, specifically San Antonio, around the needs specific to trades craftspeople. So we really got to find some solutions across construction, specifically in Texas and San Antonio, around getting more workforce interested in construction.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if someone's listening to this and say, "Hey, look, I want to be part of the, solution in terms of, attracting more people and stuff like that," what do you think, they could do? Like, what sort of things you've seen that work?
Get involved is the best thing. Is do a little reading, understand what the needs are. There's a lot of job growth in Texas. There's a lot of need. The more that we talk about this, and the more that I think there's a stigma out there around construction that it's a dirty, dingy, tough job. In some situations, it may be out in the heat. But how do we break those stigmas down, and how do we talk about the positive components that construction can afford individuals and their families? Um, with that, just making the platform to where it's not a second rate job. It's not, something to be looked down upon, because these are the key jobs that really deliver what we need in a way of housing, in a way of healthcare, higher education, schools for our kids to go to. Is It's all provided and delivered through the people that go to work every day, put their tools on, laying bricks, putting steel up, putting roofs on buildings, putting windows and openings, and making these places that we all live, work, play, and get educated.